And this is the main reason why Real Housewives of Potomac needed a moderator for this reunion, because the fact that you all tried to use reverse colorism on Candiace tells us everything about y'all.
Y'all already know what time it is. I got the black V-neck on.
Real Housewives of Potomac reverse colorism. The colorism conversation. The colorism conversation. So we are on part 3 of Real Housewives of Potomac, the reunion for season 7. And this conversation comes back up about Chris and what Gizelle did to Chris. Gizelle tried to imply that something inappropriate happened. Chris was really pissed off about it. Now, it was really weird for me watching this, white man go off on Gizelle. Like, I really had to check myself. It just made me very uncomfortable. But Candiace, jumped in and she went off on Gizelle. And trust me, Candiace had every right to voice her frustration, go off, all of that. Like, Candiace had been dealing with that mess with Chris and their household for whatever, for the last year or 10 months, however long that was going on. And Gizelle has done other stuff. And this is why everyone is saying that y'all needed a moderator, because just pulling up a phone and just reading Webster's definition of colorism is just not enough. Candiace tries to explain why Gizelle is able to do the things that she does and gets away with it, how she was out here, making it seem and try to imply that Chris did something very inappropriate with her while he was in the room, and that she's able to kind of play the victim. And Candiace, says that she has proximity to whiteness, and she says that she's white passing. Gizelle is not white passing. Candiace isn't wrong though. Gizelle is able to do that stuff because she is a light-skinned black woman and she does have proximity to whiteness. That is what colorism is. It's very odd listening to everybody's reaction to Candiace. Now I will say that watching Candiace go off, I got it. I understand being very pissed off and go off. But sometimes Candiace, unfortunately, and I don't know how to say this, and please drag me if I'm wrong, but I think sometimes Candiace, the way she speaks about stuff, and she just goes from 0 to 100. And I understand the things that she's experienced and stuff and whatever, I get it. And I understand her being pissed off in this moment, hey, you have done a lot of harmful stuff. Just because Candiace is married to a white man doesn't mean that she's dismissed of racism, anti-blackness, and colorism. Yes, her husband is white. Candiace still experiences all of these things as a dark-skinned black woman. And the fact that people started to roll their eyes, specifically Ashley and Wendy spoke up and was trying to let Candiace know she was wrong, and then Mia was out here, that shit was giving reverse colorism. Candiace did nothing wrong with talking about the fact that Gizelle is able to do stuff like that. She's able to play the victim. She's able to perpetuate stuff because she is a light-skinned woman and she does have proximity to whiteness. Gizelle does play the white victim card. She's not able to play it all the way because she's not white, but she can play a little bit of it. And Candiace talking about Gizelle's skin tone, it's accurate. Candiace being a dark-skinned woman on this show cannot talk about colorism without mentioning the skin tone of Gizelle. That's just what it is. But I think people try to approach it with Candiace being aggressive in the conversation and going off as they didn't want to hear it. I honestly, to be honest, I don't think if Candiace was able to even, say it in a calm, collected voice or whatever, I still don't think they were going to listen to her. I think at anything the audience, I wanted the audience to be able to understand, because we did not have a moderator. I think Candiace did a disservice to herself when she did not fight for a moderator. I'm not sure if she should have said, I need a moderator. Her and Wendy should have asked for a moderator. It should have been, it's honestly, if the dark skinned folks on the show said they need a moderator for the colorism, it should have been automatically accepted. This is why y'all needed a moderator, because a definition of a Webster dictionary of explaining colorism is just not enough. Y'all needed someone that understood colorism, understands anti-blackness, speaks on this stuff, knows how to articulate it, and is able to be this neutral party to be able to not quote unquote choose sides, but explain like, hey Gizelle, I've been watching, you done stuff that was wrong. Like, we needed someone to hold Gizelle accountable and the other light-skinned cast. What really pissed me off is to see them try to reprimand Candiace in this situation and saying, now you're bringing up her skin tone. You have to bring up her skin tone to let it be known that she is light-skinned. She's able to do that. But all they heard was, oh, she's white. You're calling her white. She's a black woman. And light-skinned folks do this so much. Oh my God. Like, they do this so much. Yes, light-skinned people are, like, you know, picked on in the community for being light-skinned in certain situations. Yes, that is not structural, historical, systematic oppression. That's not the same thing. Yes, it's wrong. Should nobody be bullying you on your skin tone? But dark-skinned folks experience that to another degree. Like there's like historic shit, like our folks saying, don't go into the sun because you don't get too black. Like, why is like all types of comments and stuff about black, dark skin being ugly, like anything that's associated with being black or too black is too much. Like, being away from blackness has always been accepted. Even from the hair texture, we call that texturism. Even with the featureism, like, come on now, I just don't get that. I just don't get how we keep trying to have these conversations and then it's always bombarded with, oh, you're attacking me because you're trying to say I'm not black. Gizelle, nobody, like, y'all, I mean, with that, y'all keep me, like, y'all are able to use that in certain situations. Like, even back from previous seasons, Ashley understood European features. Like, she understood that when she was talking about Gizelle and Robin. Like, she even mentioned it on the reunion before. So they get it. They just don't want to talk about it. And I've said that in my other video that they do not want to have a discussion about it because they will have to acknowledge that they have more privilege. They will have to acknowledge it, and they don't want to acknowledge that. They do not want to acknowledge that at all. And the way Ashley rolled her eyes and looked at her, it's like, we just had the colorism conversation. If you want to call that a conversation, y'all had a quick discussion about colorism that got nowhere, which is why y'all are trying to now make Candiace be responsible for reverse colorism on Gizelle. Because Gizelle in this moment is able to play the victim, even though she's done wrong. That situation and stuff that she did to Chris was wrong. That stuff that she did to him, and I can't believe, Gizelle, you got me out here defending a white man. Girl, thankfully it's not Black History Month, but how dare you? How dare you got me out here defending a white man from your foolishness? Like, that's how bad it is. Like, Gizelle is that. Like, Gizelle is a colorist. Like, she's a colorist, and even when she was saying, well, what does it have to do with her skin tone on part 2 of the reunion, these folks don't want to acknowledge that. They just think it's just petty drama, or it's just like saying someone is ugly or something, where I don't never bring up a skin tone. You don't have to do certain things for it. You don't have to bring up somebody's skin tone for it to be colorism. Like, it's the same, like, y'all do the same arguments as white folks. Like, no one said anything about skin color or being black. You all are making an issue, not me. Girl, that stuff exists. You don't have to, like, say, like, just basic racism for it to be, like, what's going on? Like, y'all don't get it. The fact that y'all are out here now trying to accuse Candiace of being a colorist, like, why you bring her skin tone? Like, she has to bring up her skin tone to let it be known that Gizelle is light-skinned and she has access, she has proximity to whiteness. And she's able to do certain things. Now, I don't agree with the critique in saying that Gizelle is the reason why victims do not come forward. Gizelle and the small, very, very small amount of people who do lie about like sexual misconduct and assault and all the other stuff are not the ones that are stopping victims from coming forward. People don't want to believe victims because people don't want to believe victims. That's just it. It's not enough people out here lying about these things for it to be a serious thing when you can't believe. People just don't want to believe. The same situation with Justice Smollett. Oh, this is not going to make folks believe. People were doing that already. I don't need that situation to tell me that I don't trust folks. I'm still going to believe because I know that stuff exists. People will try to cherry pick, and they're engaging in those conversations in bad faith from the very beginning. The same way you have this with Ashley engaging in this conversation about colorism in bad faith. Like all of them agree, oh yeah, colorism is a thing, but now it's Candiace cannot bring out a conversation about Gizelle's proximity to whiteness because now that is colorism. Like you just did it, and none of y'all have the range. None of y'all have the range, and then Wendy, being the only other dark-skinned person on this show, coming and saying, Candiace, I love you, but that was, you just did the thing. One thing that she did, this is why, and Wendy, Dr. Wendy, is a very intelligent black woman. Very intelligent. But this is not her lane. She is a dark-skinned black woman. She has the experience about colorism, but she does not have the range to engage this conversation, because if she did, she wouldn't have cut Candiace off when she was talking about this stuff with Gizelle. And that's what we have to get at. Like people, that's why we just can't have somebody say, well, we should have had Tamron Hall. No. Hell no. This is too important. It's too important. It's too many eyes, too many people paying attention. I need someone who is known for talking about these things to come so they can call it what it is. We've already done that. They did that on Basketball Wives with what's his name? I can't think of the guy's name who did the reunion, and they had a whole conversation about colorism with OG, and it went absolutely nowhere. Like, if anything, VH1 left so much stuff on the cut room floor that they really didn't even have a conversation. So hell no, I don't trust these folks, because at the end of the day, this whole institution, this whole thing is ran by white people. Bravo is ran by white people. NBC is owned by white people. They don't understand anti-blackness, let alone colorism. Okay, they don't understand neither one of them. So I don't trust any of them to engage in this conversation or to even put, it's just no. Absolutely not. That's why we keep getting messed. This show is built on colorism, to be honest. Like, how many light-skinned folks have we had on this cast? Like, we've had more light-skinned people than dark-skinned folks, and the dark-skinned folks who come on the show don't even last. They don't even last, and then they don't even get a significant story. They're the last ones on the couch. Like, come on now. Like, come on, it's bad. It is bad on Potomac. And people have been saying it for a minute. The moment you call these folks the green-eyed bandit or something like that, people start to, oh, you're being colorist. No, girl, me calling them green-eyed bandit is not colorism. Me calling the light-skinned crew is not colorism. Me calling the light-skinned girls or the whatever, that is not a colorism. Like, if that was a thing, who the hell is telling y'all that this shit goes back and forth? Like, who is telling you? Oppression don't go back and forth. Honestly, I don't even talk to people who believe in reverse racism. I literally had a conversation with somebody not too long ago. In the first conversation, they had said that, well, black people can be racist to black. Hang up, block. I'm not engaging in 2023, let alone any other time, about black folks. I'm just not doing that. If you are still on that, there's no help for you. We've had too many conversations at this point. You need to pick up a book. And that's what's going on now. Like, there's too many black folks breaking their backs, having conversations about colorism and anti-blackness for us to be still out here thinking about isms going back and forth. Like, it's just too bad at this point. I don't know how many times I've said this at this point. I'm honestly just begging at this point for us to understand that these things do not go back and forth. Like, it doesn't work like that. Like, even though me being a black gay man, there are some things that I still have. There's some like privileges and some system like power that I have still being a man, still being read as a man, than a black woman. Like a black woman, like even though I'm like queer and black and a man, I am not out here, you know, dealing with the same thing as a black woman or a black trans woman or a black disabled trans woman. Like, come on, like it's just so many things, and I need people to understand that we all have some like form of privilege. We need to have conversations with other folks to understand, so we can meet them where they are. And it doesn't like these things we keep saying, these isms go back and forth. And I'm just watching. I was so irritated watching this reunion because I'm seeing Candiace and like being upset. Like, I can feel her being upset and going off on Gizelle, but it just gets lost because they don't even, like, her cast don't understand colorism, and they've been waiting for it because they're sick of the conversation. Have you ever been in a situation where like you just like saying something, just like, oh girl, she bringing up that again, like, oh, you can't hear them say it, but you feel it. Oh, here she bringing this stuff up. Oh God, here we go again. Like, that's what it is. I feel the same thing when I'm talking about desirability with folks, to be honest. Like, oh girl, I can feel it. Like, I can literally feel it. Like, folks, because they don't want to acknowledge that. They don't want, here you go, talk about anti, here you go. And I'm not saying that I have like close friends who do this, but people in general do this. Like, people, oh my God, here he go again. People do this right when I talk about it on YouTube, like, oh, here we go again. Like, it's just like, they just don't, because it's depressing. But it's a real thing. It's real. Like, and I know we want to live in a fairy tale world where we just want to not acknowledge and think about these things, but these things exist. Which is why, from the beginning, they needed a moderator, and y'all did not do any service to yourselves by not having one. Actually, like, there was colorism working quite well, that the fact that y'all didn't have a moderator. Like, because they were able to continuously go. Like, it's just as if Candiace read their little stuff and nothing was heard about it. Like, because they didn't get the definition. Which is what I said from the very beginning. It's like, that little definition is not going to help them understand that. Like, it should have been somebody saying, hey, like, that's not colorism. Like, they would have been shook. What you mean? That's not colorism. If you got somebody who had the stuff, who understood, who sat there and told them, they would have said, hey girl, that's not colorism. That's not colorism. But that's all I got, y'all. This reunion was a mess. I did a full review on the Real Housewives of Potomac Part 3 reunion on my Patreon. Go ahead and sign up. But girl, that's all I got. Let me know what y'all thought about it in the comments, and I'll talk y'all later. Bye.